Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Designer Reacts. And I'm an architectural designer in Los Angeles, and I just have a passion of spreading architectural knowledge to the world because I feel just not enough people know about architecture. It's just like architects speak in such a highfalutin vocabulary that really they are not able to truly communicate their ideas, or their ideas are just for themselves, not really for the inhabitants of whatever building, because architects never actually live in the buildings, they do. So let's look at some projects here. And so here on Arc Daily, there's a feature on, a student project. Let's check this out. Um, I always like to check the featured projects, and this is Grand Morion Student Presidents by Kengo Kuma and Associates. I'm probably butchering that, but this is in Switzerland. It's in 2021, and it's a Grand Portalone, Portalone. Look at this thing. Look at this crazy mass right here, and it's just cut out of the stairs, and you can see behind it there's some auditorium spaces, one just a big stair that turns in there somehow, and then there's appears to be some office or assembly space there. Just this absolute massing is incredible with this very, very low carve. So this looks even heavier because of the carving. Because if it was just a pure extrusion, there wouldn't be that gravitational pull in between them because you do not see how, I mean, all of this is absolutely overhanging and matching. This is just absolutely beautiful. Oh, wow. See how the windows are carved in and all this same height, and the ceiling panels correspond with that change in height due to the stair, and then they just funnel on down. Actually, they aren't the same height because those are cut, but they'll drop at the same height. It looks like, except for that one. Wow, so there's just this whole idea of subtraction in architecture and how you start with a hole and then you carve in it. I mean, I don't know why they have these 15 cubes, but that's not really the end of the world. So on one side, it really opens up, and whenever it opens up, it has a whole different look to it. And so like here, it just looks boom, absolute massing with this beautiful carve with the slope, and then on the roofs don't slope, but they do tell you the change of the levels. And there's a beautiful interior shot. Architects often abandon interiors, so as I was saying, this looks surrendering. It's hard to tell sometimes, but I mean, to build these undulating hidden panels, I bet the contractor probably looked at them funny, but it's about the feel of the space, and it is what it is. Oh, so these panels open up. I wonder how many open up, and it really gives it a different look whenever they're all open. And obviously, they're at least one will be open. Like almost all the time. So trying to retain a huge massing, but here you can actually see the windows like on to the side. There's a balcony there. This is just outstanding because they have the screen here. I assume for sunshade. Wow. Look at these beautiful perforated panels. And then they just slide out. That is outstanding. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. But I wonder what kind of shade these actually provide. Oh, so the carve goes all the way up to the top. Well, I bet the initial idea, the initial party was to show that slope all the way up through all of these masses, so that's just how big it is. At the school, so there's a bunch of repetition. I mean, I live right by a project by SciArc, and it's just an absolutely long, extruded building. I mean, student housing can be absolutely huge. I mean, just boom, absolute repetition and section. Some interesting moments, but really, it's also about efficiency. And because it's still a cube, the only variation is here. It's a nice elevation. Probably hear that motorcycle passing by. But yeah, this is an absolutely outstanding project. See what they have to say about it. Again, text description provided by architects. Arc Daily writes nothing. In 2017, KKAA won the international competition organized by the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies, Geneva, Switzerland. This brief requested a proposal of 700 beds of student housing. Besides the various types of apartments, there was a need for public and common spaces, common kitchens and laundry rooms, sports facilities, library, study areas, cafeteria, etc. Kind of text is like an overall description. We wanted to avoid the usual vertical program segregation of public facilities on ground floor and apartments above that heavily depends on elevator circulation. Instead, we proposed the ascent promenade, carved into the building's volume, which would allow pedestrian access to all floors. From the ground floor all the way up to the rooftops, all the necessary public facilities would be allocated along this promenade. So this entire thing, everyone's forced to walk on it. So then just so as ideally so much passing, so much engagement. So like one thing is they didn't show any people in this. Like you got to show the activity, show what's going to happen in the space. I don't like it's not a building for the building, it's a building for the people. Because if it's a building for the building, then it's nothing. In this way, the architecture encourages a more walking conscious lifestyle and provokes encounters between its inhabitants. The hope is to offer a community like experience to all of these hundreds of students who will be coming from very different origins and that will be cohabitating here for years to come. So the idea is not like in and out in a year, it's way more about hopefully stay here all 4 years. Wow. I mean, I would love to stay here. This is absolute. I mean, of all of the students out there who have ever lived in student housing, like it's basically a jail cell or military barracks. Like it's absolutely low cost. And here they truly have this element of design. And so I saw this very interesting study about the longevity of humans. It wasn't even done by architects, but by anthropologists, which makes more sense, And they just, it's very tough to quantify general happiness and health. So they viewed it through just longevity and how long the average population lived. And they found that not only were these areas that people did not work out 1 hour a day and and then do nothing else, these people were encouraged to live an active lifestyle just by virtue of design. I mean, imagine if you were actually able to walk or bike places. Would you? Would you? Like if it was just dense enough to have just what you need for the most part within a walking and biking radius, I think a lot for people because also our roads are made for cars, they're not made for anything else. Why is every road made for cars? There's people too. There's trains, there's bikes, there's scooters even. And here in LA, where they do the most, it's still just a tiny, tiny bike lane. Why do we need every street with cars? Obviously, one thinks instantly, oh yeah, that will cause a traffic jam. Well, maybe intentionally, but are we going to perpetuate the problem? And even shutting down one block, you're telling me that's gonna come on now. There's so many streets. We can be divergent about this and convergent at the same time. But this project is outstanding. But I wonder how expensive it is. Well, it's Switzerland, so it's probably free. I actually don't know how the student housing works, but it's a very interesting project. So enjoy.